Bridget Simmons is the Chief Executive of the British Beer and Pub Association, and Tom Stainer is from the Campaign for Real Ale. Good evening to you both. Tom, if pubs were popular and they were working properly, they wouldn't close, surely?
Well, you'd hope that was the case, but unfortunately I think consumer tastes have changed. I think pubs are under pressure from a lot of different factors, including the way that some of the pub companies operate. And we're obviously very welcoming of the measures that have been announced by the government today to help rebalance that relationship between the licensees and the pub-owning companies. It's been 10 years of campaigning for us, and we're just delighted the government has listened to the MPs that debated it and voted overwhelmingly in 2 debates, that the 4 select committees have recommended reform was needed, and the tens of thousands of licensees and campaigners across the country that have called for this reform.
But to an ordinary punter who likes to buy a pint, they would think, well, surely the big pubcos, they don't want to drive landlords out, do they? They want them to stay afloat and make them money.
No, absolutely. And again, you'd hope that was the case, but we've done surveys and it shows about 50% of licensees are actually reporting that they're earning less than the minimum wage. And it's just not sustainable for a lot of them. They are being driven out of the business. And we'd agree that it's in the best interest and long-term interest of the pub companies to have a very good working relationships with their licensees, so both sides can make a good living out of this.
So why, Bridget, aren't your members doing their bit?
Our members are, and I have to say, none of my members would recognise the sort of figures that Tom's talking about. I mean, you've got to remember a licensee lives above a pub, they don't have travel expenses, and they're not talking about being employed, they're talking about what they would take out of the business.
As we heard in our report there, that landlord said it was the worst 5 years of his life, running a Tide pub, and now he's got a free house and seemingly making a decent business out of it.
If you can afford a free house, that's fine, but you probably need £250,000 in capital minimum. The great thing about the Tide system is it's a low-cost entry into running your pub. You can have £20,000, and I know a lot of really successful pubs who run really well on that system. Had we had an announcement today which reduced the ability of the companies to support those pubs by giving them investment, by reducing their rents, by giving them beer discounts, we would have been hugely disappointed.
I'm sure you both prefer to see less tax on a pint. Yes, so you're both nodding in agreement with that. What is today's announcement, though, Tom, going to do to the price of pints?
Well, we'd hope that actually the adjudicator can work to reduce the price that licensees are being expected to pay by the pub-owning companies.
Well, buying the wholesale beer, if you like.
Well, they're obligated under the tie system to buy from the pub-owning company, and obviously a margin is added to that by the company. Now, the adjudicator could step in and say it's fairer if they pay less for that beer. And looking at the average cost, you know, it could be as much as 50 or 60 pence a pint less. And we'd obviously hope that licensees would want to pass that on to their customers to get more people back into the
What do you think is going to do the prices?
I have to say, there is no evidence that that has ever happened in the past. Every year, and for the last 4 years, beer has been cheaper in Tide pubs than it has in independent pubs. If this is about increasing the earnings of the licensee, why would they necessarily pass it on? For us, we're going to have an adjudicator that's going to cost £200 million instead of 100,000 for our self-regulatory system now. That's going to, if anything, increase the cost of the pint going forward.
I wonder if beer is a bit of a red herring here, though, because beer consumption on the whole is going down. Wine is now more popular, isn't it, as a drink?
In pubs,
I'm talking about in general, though,
yes,
now.
Yes, but in pubs, even overall, pubs still sell more beer in the on-trade than you do in the off-trade. That's not true for wine and for spirits. But in pubs, 7 out of 10 drinks, alcoholic drinks sold, is still beer. Beer and craft beer and this whole draft beer, which is unique in Britain, can only really be sold in the pub.
So beer is the key?
Beer is an absolute key, which is why we got a reduction in beer duty for the 2nd year running this year. We're very grateful to George Osborne. Please can we have a 3rd time running next year?
Absolutely.
We both agree on that.
And we both agree on that.
You can both buy each other a pint then, can't you? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.